I now give the floor to Her Excellency, the Deputy Secretary-General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, to deliver opening remarks. DSG.
Thank you, ASG Hart. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, real pleasure to join you today and to see my two sisters, Dite and Ambassador Deseko online. Welcome. The report from the Secretary-General's panel on critical energy transition minerals was released in September in response to a critical global challenge. And the Secretary-General has asked that we not only reach out informally in the different constituencies, but have a specific focus on debriefing our member states on this important work. Excellencies, we're in the midst of a quiet revolution, and the way we power our economies and societies is changing. Renewables have never been cheaper or more accessible, and the acceleration in their rollout is staggering but uneven. There is a danger that the clean energy transition could reproduce and amplify inequalities of the past, with developing countries rich in the renewables critical to the transition, banished to the bottom of those value chains, their people exploited, and their environment in jeopardy, as others grow wealthy on those resources. I'm sure that this sounds very familiar. The Secretary-General established the panel in response to calls from developing countries for actions on these issues, lest we repeat history. I would like to express my deep appreciation and thank the panel members for their work, particularly the leadership of our co-chairs, Ambassador Deseko of South Africa and Ambassador Dieter Jorgensen of the European Commission. I'd like to commend the panel for breaking new ground and reaching an agreement on many complex and contested issues. This is not an easy job. I'm also grateful to the 17 UN agencies that provided a vast range of technical expertise to the panel, led by UNEP, UNCTAD, and the Secretary-General's Climate Action Team. The panel's report identifies ways governments, industry, and the UN can work together to embed justice and equity in critical energy transition mineral value chains and ensures that they spur sustainable development, respect people, protect the environment, and power prosperity in resource-rich developing countries. It outlines 7 guiding principles that prioritize human rights, environmental protection, and inclusive development, while also insisting on responsible trade and investment. This vision is supported by calls for transparency, accountability, and commitment to multilateral cooperation, safeguarding the rights of resource-rich countries that benefit from their minerals while protecting their communities and ecosystems. To bring these 7 principles into action, the report sets out 5 actionable recommendations, such as forming a UN-hosted expert group to lead fair policy dialogue and drive accountability across mineral value chains. It advocates for a global transparency framework, funding mechanisms to address mining's long-term impacts, and support for small-scale miners as partners in sustainable development. Together, these recommendations aim to empower communities, create accountability, and ensure that clean energy fuels not only our economies, but also equitable and resilient growth. Let me also underscore here, this is building on good practices and the work that many other countries have done. Following the launch of the report, the Secretary-General has asked the panel and the UN to socialize these findings with member states and other stakeholders ahead of COP29 and receive feedback to help inform the next steps. We are preparing the UN system to support the implementation of the panel's work, safeguarding and advancing human rights, particularly the rights of indigenous peoples across the critical minerals value chain. UNEP, UNCTAD, and the Climate Action Team will lead those efforts in the UN system at the country level. Civil society, young people, and indigenous people all have a seat at the table. At COP29 in Baku later this month, the Secretary-General will convene a leader-level event to mobilize political support and establish a way forward. Today, our panel co-chairs will brief you on the report. We would like to hear your feedback on its findings to inform the operationalization of its outcomes, and we are particularly keen to hear views on 2 matters. First, are the guiding principles the right ones? If so, how can we mainstream them into the relevant constituencies? Second, the panel developed 5 actionable recommendations to put the principles into practice. Are these broadly supported? And if so, what's the best approach to operationalize them? What role can member states and the UN system and other stakeholders play in moving them forward? We very much look forward to hearing from you today as we work together to ensure that we generate the prosperity and equality alongside clean power. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DSG. And colleagues, you heard the questions posed by the Deputy Secretary General to you. But before getting your responses,